In this video, I'll be discussing permutations and how to use the permutations to determine the number of outcomes. A permutation of n different elements is an ordering of the elements such that one element is first, one is second, one is third, and so on. For example, you have 5 books: history, math, science, Spanish, and English. How many different ways can you arrange the books on the shelf? So if you think about it in terms of how many different books can you start out with on for the first book, you have 5 different books to choose to place first. Whatever book you place first, you have 4 books available left to be able to place second. And after you place those 2 books, you have 3 books left to place third. After you've placed that book, you have only 1 left. Therefore, if you were to multiply these together, you would get 120 different ways. Now, in this case, you also could say that this is a factorial. A factorial is a number that is multiplied by all the previous numbers before it as natural numbers. So 5 factorial would be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which we have now said is 120. 6 factorial, for example, would be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So ordering a set number of elements you could use as a factorial. Next, 8 horses are running in a race. How many ways can these horses come in first, second, or third place? So if you think about it in terms of places, there are 8 horses running. Any of those 8 could come in first. Whatever horse comes in first, there are 7 horses left to come in second, and then whatever is left, there are 6 horses left to come in third. So if you were to multiply 8 times 7 times 6, you would get 336 different ways that the horses could come in first, second, or third. Now, again, this is very similar to a factorial, but you are not multiplying all the numbers together. You're only multiplying the first 3 numbers together. Now, what we talked about with the horses, that is actually considered a permutation. And here is how you could do it using the formula for the permutations. N represents how many elements there are. For example, in the previous term, there were 8 horses. R is how many places that there's going to be. So N is 8 horses, but R represents that you're wanting the first 3 places, first, second, and third. So in the previous term with the 8 horses, we have 8 horses, and we are choosing first, second, and third. Therefore, we are choosing 3 spots. So we have an 8, P3. 8 horses, we're choosing 3 spots. Now, you could use the formula by hand. Thankfully, your calculator will do it for you. So here's how you do it. You're going to plug in the number 8. You're going to click on Math, and you're going to go over to Probability and down to NPR, hit Enter, and then you have 3 places that you're choosing. Hit Enter, and it gives you the answer for you, which is 336. Another permutation, a corporation has 10 members on its board of directors. In how many different ways can it elect a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer? So we have 10 members that we are choosing from, and there are 4 specific spots that we're wanting: a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. So we are choosing 4 specific places. So if you were to bring up your calculator, you would click on 10, go over to Math, to Probability, to NPR, and you are choosing 4 specific places, and your answer would be 5,040. Different ways that you can choose a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. In how many ways can 7 floats line up for the homecoming parade? So if you think about the fact that you have 7 floats, any 7 of those floats could be placed first. Whatever float is placed first, you have 6 floats left. Whatever is not chosen there, you have 5 left, and you would keep going. So we would say that this is a 7 factorial, which we actually can do on the calculator, which is 7, math, go over to probability, and there's your factorial button. And if you click enter, you get, interesting enough, 5,040. So we know that the answer is 5,040. However, you can do it as a permutation. You have 7 floats, and you are choosing all 7 to be placed in a line. So therefore, you would have 7 floats, go to math, probability, NPR, and you want all 7 to be placed, hit enter, and again, it actually gives you the exact same answer, which is 5,040. There are 2 different types of things that you can do with permutations as well. You have a distinguishable permutation and you have a non-distinguishable. We have already discussed non-distinguishable permutations. For example, you have letters in the word math and you want to arrange the letters. How many ways can you do it? So if you think about the fact that you have 4 letters, any 4 of those letters could be placed first. You would have 3 letters left to be placed, and then 2, and then 1. So your answer would be 24. You could say also it was a 4 factorial, or you could say you have 4 letters and you're arranging all 4. What's different about Mississippi is it's distinguishable because you have letters that repeat. The S repeats, the P repeats, and the I repeats. And so if you were to try to put them in order of Mississippi, you could place the M here, but if you place the S here, there's one of 4 S's that could have been chosen. It doesn't matter in that case of which S was chosen because, again, they repeat. So anytime you have something that repeats, it becomes a distinguishable permutation, and here's how you do it. On top, you are going to count how many letters there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 letters in Mississippi. It becomes 11 factorial, just like over here was 4 factorial. However, you need to divide out anything that repeats. The S repeats 4 times, the S. The P repeats twice, the P. And the I repeats 4 times, which represents the I. And this is what you would need to put in your calculator. So you would have an 11 factorial divided by, now you need to use parentheses because there's more than one that you're dividing by. You would have a 4 factorial, a 2 factorial, and another 4 factorial according to the S, the P, and the I. Close the parentheses, and that would be your answer, 34,650. 34,650 different ways that you could arrange the letters Mississippi.